Look around you. Do you see order or just chaos slowly eating away at your life? That silent mess invading your mind and stealing your time is a relentless thief. It takes away your peace, it steals your focus. It steals you. And as long as you keep allowing it, you'll stay trapped in a life you don't control. But today, we're going to break those chains and take back your place. In this video, you'll discover how Stoic teachings can be your compass to escape chaos and build the life you deserve. These aren't just random tips to be more organized. Here you'll find deep, practical keys that will help you put every piece in its place. You'll learn to prioritize what's essential, to eliminate what doesn't add value, and to turn confusion into a clear path toward success. Because organizing your life isn't just a skill, it's the foundation that supports your peace of mind and your purpose. Stay with me, and you'll see how, step by step, you'll go from feeling lost to having absolute control over your life. Before we go on, let me ask you something. How long have you been living with that silent mess that drains your energy and makes you feel out of control? I'm not talking about what others expect from you or the daily obligations, but about what's really happening inside you. If that feeling has been weighing you down, subscribe and become an exclusive member so we can keep turning that chaos into a clear path toward your success. And tell me in the comments, what part of your life have you left on pause for too long? Or simply write Stoic at heart, because today, you start taking back control of your life. Lesson 1. Live like you have nothing left to prove. If tomorrow were your last day, would you really dress the same, go to the same places, talk to the same people? Would you keep editing your life just to earn applause? Or would you finally dare to live it as it really is? It's easy to say we don't care about other people's opinions, but there you are, choosing clothes to impress, posting quotes to sound deep, studying things you don't even care about because someone said it was the smart choice. Living to prove something is like running a marathon with a sign on your back that says, "Look at me, I'm running." You're not doing it for the journey, you're doing it for the gaze of others. And when that gaze is your only fuel, sooner or later, you burn out. That's exactly what happened to singer Jewel. For years, she lived under the weight of, "You have to become somebody." She rose to fame young, but she says all that attention left her empty. She went from stage to stage, interview to interview, being the image everyone expected, but completely disconnected from herself. Until one day she had enough. She walked away, disappeared for a while. And in that pause, she reconnected with her essence, with her purpose. Her real success didn't come when the applause was loudest, but when she stopped chasing it. My friend, how many decisions do you make each week just because of what people might say? That master's program you don't even like but opens doors. That gym you hate but keep going to because you've got to look good. That project that no longer excites you but you can't walk away from because quitting would mean failure. The irony? No one actually cares as much as you think. No one's watching that closely. You're sacrificing your peace for an audience that isn't even paying attention. Look at the Stoics. They didn't aim to be understood by everyone. They aimed to be true to themselves. Epictetus said it clearly. If you want to improve, be prepared to be called insane. Because yes, when you stop playing by the usual script, you make people uncomfortable. They call you selfish, weird, antisocial. But what they're really seeing is that you're no longer playing their game. Try this. Every time you make a decision, ask yourself if the phrase, "What will they think?" shows up alongside it. If the answer is yes, breathe, and do it anyway. That's where freedom begins, when you act even if your image takes a hit. Here's another challenge. Go a whole week without posting anything, without explaining yourself, without sharing your wins or moves. Just live, and try this visualization. You're about to make a big decision, and no one on earth will ever know. Would you still make it? That's your signal. That's how you know it's really for you. My friend, true transformation doesn't happen when everyone understands you. It happens when you finally understand yourself. So go for it. Live like you have nothing left to prove. Because the truth is, you don't. Lesson 2. Guard your time like a treasure. Imagine that every minute of your day is a gold coin, a real shiny, valuable coin you can choose to keep or spend. Would you leave it forgotten in a drawer, unused and collecting dust? Or would you invest it in something that truly brings you closer to your dreams and goals? I bet you've caught yourself more than once losing hours to meaningless distractions, letting your mental chaos grow and take over. That, my friend, is like letting those gold coins slip through your fingers without ever putting them to good use. Time is like a chest filled with precious gems. But what happens when you waste those gems on things that don't matter? The chest empties, and what you want drifts further away. Learning to protect that chest, to guard every jewel, is how you start organizing your life from the most valuable place you have, your time. Marcus Aurelius, a man who knew the value of time well, said something that still resonates today. Realize that time is a river flowing, and that each passing moment is gone forever. To him, life was like that river. If you don't guide it with intention, it sweeps you away, and you lose the chance to choose your course. Living well is learning to navigate that river with awareness, using every moment to grow instead of drifting into what doesn't matter. Can you imagine Seneca, with all his wisdom, watching someone glued to their phone, lost in an endless scroll? He'd probably smirk and think, if they spent as much time reflecting as they do on memes, they'd have written 10 more books by now. That irony is a reminder that protecting our time means protecting our mind and energy too. Constant distraction doesn't just steal minutes, it creates noise that blocks us from seeing the clear road to success. Think of someone who spends hours stuck in WhatsApp groups, endlessly watching stories, or checking notifications like their lifelines. By the end of the day, they feel like they haven't moved an inch toward their personal project or toward putting their life in order. Now imagine that same person deciding to use just 2 of those hours to plan their week, organize priorities, or take one concrete step toward their goals. That small shift, my friend, is what can turn inner chaos into a defined, focused path toward what you want. So, do you want to start guarding your time like the treasure it is and transform your life? Here's how to do it. Simple, but intentional. First, run a time audit. For 1 or 2 days, write down exactly how you spend your minutes and hours. Be honest and detailed. You'll probably be surprised at how much time slips away on things that add nothing to your growth or mental clarity. That reality check is the first powerful step toward making conscious decisions. Second, prioritize what truly matters. Every day, pick the 3 tasks that move you closer to your goals, the ones that really count. Do them first, without letting anything or anyone interrupt. That small habit brings order to chaos and gives you the sense that you're truly moving forward. Third, block out time for deep work. Turn off notifications, put your phone away, and reserve chunks of your schedule just for focusing on your projects or organizing your life. At first, it may be hard, but over time, that discipline will give you a sense of control and satisfaction that fuels your motivation and keeps chaos at bay. My friend, guard your time like you would guard a treasure, because it truly is one. Every minute you spend with intention is a solid brick in building a life of purpose and order. The more you protect that chest full of gems, the clearer and stronger the road will be toward the real, lasting success you deserve. So tell me, what will you protect today to start turning that inner disorder into a life with meaning and focus? Share it in the comments. I want to know which decisions you're ready to make. And if you still feel overwhelmed by chaos and struggle to keep calm, don't miss the video right here next to this one. It will show you how to maintain self-confidence and master your mind, the key to organizing your life and turning that disorder into real success. Watch it now and start taking control from the inside out. Lesson 3. Your focus shapes your destiny. Your focus decides your life. But lately, it feels like your life is being decided by the algorithm, and you, without even noticing, just keep scrolling. You wake up wanting to have a productive day, and before you've even put on your socks, you've already watched 3 cooking videos, 2 political debates, and 1 random opinion about a celebrity you didn't even know existed. And then you wonder why it's so hard to focus on what truly matters. No, I'm not blaming you. We live in what psychologist Luis Calderon calls a structural attention deficit. Everything is designed to distract you, to split your attention across 1,000 things, except you. And little by little, you drift away from what actually helps you, what transforms you, what builds you. Because if you spend the whole day consuming other people's lives, when exactly are you going to build your own? Look, I know you want to change. You want to get better. Maybe you've even bought a few self-help books, but let's be honest. You start them all fired up, and 10 seconds later, your mind's already somewhere else. A WhatsApp notification pops up. You suddenly remember to check if there's a sale on that app where you always buy stuff you don't need. And next thing you know, you've spent 20 minutes watching someone else's perfect life in stories. And your transformation? Still on pause, waiting for you to come back to yourself. Let me tell you something you might not like. To the market, you're not a person, you're a product. Your attention is bought and sold. That's why they don't care if you transform, if you chase your dreams, or if you're slowly burning out inside. But you, my friend, should care. Because if you're not the one deciding where your energy goes, someone else will do it for you. The Stoics knew this deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The quality of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts." But today, the problem isn't even that we think poorly. It's that we don't think at all. We just react to whatever shows up, whatever pings, whatever sparkles, never to what actually matters. And what matters? You, your growth, your peace, your discipline. Because if you don't build a strong, focused mind, any noise can tear you down. So here's a simple, powerful challenge. Tomorrow, first thing in the morning, decide consciously 4 things you want to focus on. 4 things that are yours. Real things. Don't say, "I'll see what happens." Choose. Read 20 pages. Take a phone-free walk. Call someone who lifts you up. Finish a task you've been avoiding. Write them down. Make them clear. Then assign each one a time. Use your phone's timer. Focus on one. Give it your full attention. And only when that time block ends, take a break. And yes, even that break should be planned. Not because you're a machine, but because your attention needs structure if it's going to survive. This might seem small, but it's the first step toward reclaiming your focus. And when you reclaim your focus, you start taking control of your destiny. Because everything you want, everything you dream of, depends on your ability to choose what gets your mind. Your focus shapes your destiny. And that's not just a cute quote to post on Instagram. It's a warning. If you keep letting others choose for you, your life will drift by on autopilot. But if today you choose to look inward, to make yourself a priority, to protect what feeds your mind, everything starts to change. So tell me, what are the 4 things you're going to focus on today? Write them in the comments, because every decision you make with intention is another brick in the solid life you're building. Not perfect, but yours. Lesson 4. Don't mistake peace for comfort. There's a kind of peace that isn't peace at all. It just looks like it. It's the calm of someone who's too afraid to shake things up. Someone who leaves everything as it is. Not because they're in harmony, but because they're scared of losing the little stability they've got. That kind of false peace feels a lot like falling asleep with your eyes open, like living on autopilot, like pretending everything's fine because, well, at least no one's yelling. But inside there's noise. It's like when you say it's fine, and deep down you've got a full-blown storm brewing, one with a name, last name, and zip code. You say you're okay, that you'd rather avoid arguments, that stirring things up isn't worth it. But then you can't figure out why you're having trouble sleeping, why you're always tired, why something in you feels like it hasn't taken a deep breath in weeks. My friend, maybe what you call peace is just a fancy way of hiding from yourself. Stoicism doesn't promote that passive kind of peace. It doesn't invite you to silently endure or bottle up your feelings. Quite the opposite. Marcus Aurelius spoke about acting in line with your rational nature. And he wasn't sitting in his room writing pretty phrases. He was running an empire. He made tough decisions every day, faced betrayals, illness, war, and still, each night, he asked himself if he had acted with integrity. That's real peace, the kind that comes from looking in the mirror and knowing that, even if things aren't perfect, at least you're not betraying yourself. I've swallowed that comfortable peace more times than I care to admit. At a family dinner, one of my cousins, with his usual smug little grin, said, "Well, what do you know about stress? You make your living like some kind of bohemian." He said it in front of everyone casually, like it was nothing, and everyone laughed like it was just an innocent joke. I laughed too, lowered my head, and changed the subject. But inside, I was boiling, because it wasn't just a comment. It was a way of invalidating all the effort, the sleepless nights, the pressure of building something from scratch, of holding on when no one believes in what you're doing. I stayed quiet, yes, and I kept pretending I was fine the whole night. But when I got home, I felt empty, not calm, drained, not physically but emotionally. What really hurt was that I'd let myself down. That night, lying in bed, unable to sleep, that comment kept echoing in my head. And then I remembered something I'd heard on Sarah Desai's podcast. She talked about performative peace, that false calm we put on to avoid discomfort, to keep the peace. But that leaves us hollow inside. And I realized that's exactly what had happened to me. I hadn't stayed quiet out of maturity or wisdom. I'd stayed quiet out of fear. And that's not peace, that's surrender. My friend, if this resonates with you, if you know deep down you've been faking peace just to fit in, if you suspect that the calm you show the world isn't real but a way to protect yourself, then maybe it's time to move. So here are a few steps if they help. Next time you feel the urge to stay silent, ask yourself, am I letting this go because it truly doesn't matter? Or because I'm afraid of conflict? Be honest, not with others, with yourself. Then say what you really think out loud, even if it's just in front of the mirror. If it's hard to look at yourself, if something tenses up inside, that's not peace, that's repression. And finally, do something that pushes you out of your safe little bubble. Talk to that colleague you always avoid. Pitch that idea you're embarrassed about. Sign up for a class where you don't know anyone. Because if your life only feels comfortable but never moves you, then you're not at peace. You're stuck. So now tell me, what if that calm you keep showing off is just a pause between two fears? Real peace isn't the absence of problems. It's the presence of courage. Don't confuse being comfortable with being alive. True peace doesn't come from avoiding the world. It comes from facing it, from within, because it's there, in the middle of the movement, that a steady life is built. A life that doesn't need external approval to feel grounded. Lesson 5. If you don't respect yourself, everything falls apart. Ah, respect. It's so easy to give it to others, your boss, your family, even that stranger who doesn't hear a word you say. But my friend, how complicated it gets when it comes to respecting yourself. You promise you'll start that course you were so excited about, but there it is, abandoned after lesson 2. You say you'll stop procrastinating, but you hit the snooze button like it's a sacred ritual. Do you know what really happens? When you don't keep your word to yourself, you're not just wasting time. You're giving away your power. Your word loses weight. And if you don't believe yourself, who else is supposed to? Have you heard the fable of the tree that didn't know who it was? Maybe yes. Or maybe you'll just see yourself in it. They say there was a tree, always anxious because it didn't know what it was supposed to be. The oak told it to be strong and solid. The apple tree said it had to bear fruit. The willow said it should be graceful and flexible. And so, trying to please everyone, the tree tried to be all of it at once. But it couldn't. It always failed at something. Until one day, a small flower, barely visible, told it something simple. You don't have to look like anyone else, just be yourself. And the moment the tree accepted that, when it stopped chasing external approval, it finally started to grow. Sound familiar? That's what happens to us too. We go through life trying to meet all the expectations, Be more productive, more charming, stronger, more stable. And in the middle of all that noise, you forget to listen to yourself. And when you stop listening, you stop respecting. Imagine you want to start a small online business. You're excited, you talk about it. You know it lights you up. But then the days go by, and nothing. I'm too busy. It's not the right time. But the truth is, it's not the business you're putting off. It's you. You're showing yourself through your actions that your ideas don't matter, that your promises aren't worth much. And in the long run, that tears you down. Epictetus would be clear about it. He'd look you in the eye and ask, are you acting according to your rational nature? Or are you betraying yourself out of fear? Because for the Stoics, self-respect meant doing what you know you're supposed to do, even when it's hard, even when you don't feel like it. Because that's the one thing you can control, your action. Everything else is just noise. And don't think I'm just quoting from books. I lived this. At a time when I felt totally lost, I heard something that snapped me out of it. It was on Rob Dial's podcast, The Mindset Mentor. And no, it's not classical Stoicism, but what he said cut just as deep. I followed his advice and now I'm sharing it with you. First, identify your false modesties. What achievements are you downplaying out of fear of seeming arrogant? Write them down, read them, they're yours. Second, act even when you don't feel ready. Want to record something, write, start a project? Do it badly if you must, but do it. Third, learn to say no, kindly but firmly. Sentences like, thanks, but that doesn't work for me right now, carry more strength than you think. No, you don't need to justify every boundary. And fourth, look in the mirror and say something good to yourself. Literally, I have something to offer. Even if it feels awkward at first, your brain takes it in. And that voice? Slowly it becomes your ally. So let me ask you a tough but freeing question. If you were your own friend, would you believe you? Because if your word doesn't mean anything to you, then everything you build will eventually collapse. Doesn't matter what you say. Doesn't matter what you post, what you share, or what you dream of. If you don't respect yourself, the world won't either. And if this whole journey has made you realize that maybe, just maybe, you've spent more time trying to be liked than trying to move forward, then wait. What comes next isn't just another piece of advice. It's the shift that can change everything. The piece that, when it fits, finally turns your life toward you. Sixth lesson. Your attention has a price. I know. Everyone wants something from you, your time, your help, your advice, your instant reply. Your phone demands it, your boss expects it, your family assumes it, your friends count on it. And in the meantime, you're just putting out fires. Sometimes you even convince yourself that this is what being a good person looks like. But there's an uncomfortable truth you can't keep ignoring. If you don't choose what to give your attention to, someone else will do it for you. And no, they won't always choose what's best for you. My friend, your attention is like an all-you-can-eat buffet at a mall. Everyone walks by, grabs what they want, serves themselves without asking, and you're left at the end washing the dishes without having tasted anything that truly nourishes you. And the worst part is, you get used to it. You get used to always starting something for yourself, but never finishing it. I'm telling you because it happened to me too. Not long ago, I spent 2 weeks saying I was going to reorganize my routine to prioritize myself. Sounds very stoic, very mature. But do you know what I actually did? I organized everyone else's life. I helped my sister with her classes, a friend with his move, a colleague with a report, and when I finally had a free afternoon for myself, I ended up watching meaningless videos, answering non-stop messages, and feeling totally empty. I realized I had turned my day into a to-do list for everyone, except me. And that's when it hit me, staring at my phone screen, exhausted and frustrated. I stumbled upon a quote by Epictetus that completely threw me. Do not hand over your mind to just anyone who happens to walk by. That was the click. I realized it wasn't just about distraction. It was a silent form of abandonment. I was letting everyone else decide what I should think about, what I should focus on, and worst of all is what I should spend myself on. From that moment on, I started asking myself every day if my attention was bringing me closer or further away from the life I really wanted to live. And it's not just about willpower. The neuroscience educator known as Neurosapiens explains it clearly. Focus is a limited resource. When you spend it on tasks that don't fulfill you or bring you closer to yourself, your brain gets drained and punishes you with apathy. In one of his videos, he says, "It's not that you lack discipline. It's that you're burnt out from paying attention to things that don't matter." And wow, is he right? Now picture this scene. You're at home, finally ready to work on that project you've been putting off for weeks. You take a deep breath, make yourself a coffee, open your laptop. And just then, a message pops up. Got a minute? And of course, you always have a minute. Then comes another request, then a call, then a video. And by the time you realize it, the coffee's gone, the project's forgotten, and so are you. All that's left is noise. So what can you do to stop giving your focus away like it's worthless? When you feel like you're spinning in circles, do this. Sit down with a blank sheet of paper and ask yourself, what would make me feel proud by the end of today? Just one thing, not 10, not 5, 1. Write it down. That's your priority. And when you finish it, you'll have regained something incredibly valuable: control over your own attention. And if people are the issue, try this. Don't reply immediately. Not to the message, not to the call, not to the urgent interruption. The world isn't going to end if you take your time to answer. But you might finally begin building something that truly belongs to you. Tell me the truth. Did your attention today bring you closer to yourself or take you further away? Because if you're not paying attention to your own life, who are you giving it to? The answer, however painful, might be the beginning of real change. Because prioritizing yourself isn't about shutting the world out. It's about finally living with intention. And that, my friend, changes everything. Lesson 7. Your story doesn't define you, but it does shape you. We all have a story. A childhood with its bright spots and shadows, choices that weren't ours to make, words that stuck with us, glances that hit harder than we ever wanted to admit. And while that doesn't make you a victim, it also doesn't mean you can pretend it never happened. Let me tell you about Andrea Owen. Andrea grew up in a house where emotions were like awkward guests. Everyone knew they were there, but no one mentioned them. If something broke, it got swept under the rug. If something hurt, you smiled and moved on. So she did what any kid would do to survive in that kind of space. She adapted. She learned it was better not to cause trouble, that things went more smoothly if you didn't raise your voice or ask for too much. That being pleasant was safer than being real. She became a kind, quiet, responsible woman. From the outside, everything looked fine, but inside, she felt like she was living on autopilot. One day, no drama, no big breakdown, she simply couldn't go on. She looked in the mirror and realized she didn't know who she was. She didn't know whether the life she was living was a choice or just habit. So she sat down with a notebook and started to write her story, but from a new perspective. Not as the girl who had to adapt, but as the adult who finally wanted to choose. And in that process, she realized something that changed everything. What she thought was her personality was really just a defense, a disguise she had worn for so long, she'd forgotten she could take it off. No, her story didn't define her. But yes, it had shaped her, until she dared to question it. Today, Andrea helps thousands do the same through her podcast Make Some Noise, where she shares this journey with total honesty. Because it's not a made-up story, it's her life. And it was only when she stopped seeking validation and started looking inward that everything began to make sense. Sound familiar? Maybe it's not the same story, but maybe the pattern feels close. How many things do you do today that weren't really your choice, but your past's? For example, if you think you're bad with money, maybe it's not true. Maybe no one ever taught you. If you believe love always hurts, maybe it's because that's what you saw growing up. And if you tend to stay quiet, Maybe you're not shy, maybe you were taught that speaking up caused conflict. This is exactly where Stoicism turns the spotlight. No, it doesn't tell you to ignore the past. What it offers is something more powerful, to reorder it. Marcus Aurelius, in his nightly reflections, didn't ask whether he did everything perfectly. He asked whether he had acted from his rational nature or from a borrowed emotion. That's the key. Not reacting by reflex, but acting with intention. And that starts by tracing back where your habits come from. Here's something I want to propose. But do it with care. Set the mood. Find a quiet space, put on some soft music, grab a notebook you like, something that feels good. Light a candle if you want. It's not for show, it's a sign of respect for what you're about to do. Now, write out a moment from your childhood that still marks you. A specific scene that you feel has defined you. Write it exactly how you remember it. And when you're done, write it again. But this time, from the perspective of the adult you are now, with what you know today. Change the point of view and see which parts of that story no longer represent you. Another thing you can do is pay attention to your daily reactions. Every time you catch yourself acting on autopilot, ask one question. Did I learn this, or did I choose it? Just by doing that, you're already starting to take your power back. And if you want to go deeper, record yourself. Seriously. Get in front of your phone camera and tell yourself the new version of your story. Not the painful one, the one that learned, the one that used all of it to grow. Because, my friend, it's time to stop living according to what others taught us, imposed on us, or expected from us, and to finally start building a life that's steady on the inside, even if no one claps for it. A life where you don't need to prove anything, just be at peace with who you are now. So, here's my question. What if what you call your personality is just your past playing on repeat? Then you're not stuck. You're just distracted. Rewrite it, my friend. There's still time. And if you feel like sharing that new version of your story, we'll be reading the comments. We're here to support you. Lesson 8. Do it no matter what. Don't wait to feel ready. Picture this. You're sitting in your office, glancing at the clock for the 10th time in an hour. Your mind isn't on the work you have to deliver, but on that passion you've kept locked away for years. You think, I'm not ready to leave my job. Or, when I have more experience, that'll be the moment. You even set a date, a perfect day in the future when everything will fall into place and you'll feel ready to take the leap. But the truth is, that day never comes. And while you wait, you feed yourself 1,000 excuses not to move. This week I'm swamped. I need to save a bit more. When I feel more confident, I'll do it. Sound familiar? That perfect moment, that ideal alignment of circumstances and emotions you're waiting for, is actually a trap. Because while you wait, your life stays exactly the same, and the disorder you want to fix only grows. You get stuck, paralyzed by fear of making mistakes or not being prepared, and that fear steals your time, your energy, and your chance to move forward. Hate to break it to you, but that's the reason you haven't yet achieved what you've always wanted. But today that changes. I'm going to tell you how I started doing things even when I didn't have the will or the confidence, and how that truly changed my life. I remember hearing Tony Robbins say something that stuck with me. Don't wait to feel motivated to act. Motivation comes when you start, not before. That hit me straight in the mindset. From then on, I began applying that principle to everything. I wasn't ready to go to the dentist, but I booked the appointment. I wasn't ready to move, but I signed the lease. I wasn't ready to speak in public, but I enrolled in a course. Every step, small and full of doubt, pulled me out of mental chaos and moved me closer to the more ordered, purposeful life I wanted so badly. Think of no matter what action as a rudder in the middle of a storm. It doesn't matter if the sea is raging, you're the captain keeping the course steady. Don't wait for perfect conditions to set sail. Real life doesn't hand you ideal moments, it hands you opportunities to take control despite the noise and uncertainty. My friend Epictetus didn't say, "Do what you must," just to sound wise. That came from his constant struggle with passions and emotions that tried to dictate when he would act and when he wouldn't. He understood that real freedom lies in choosing the right action, even when your mood is absent. Imagine Epictetus facing his hard days, tired, doubtful, not ready, and still deciding to push forward. Instead of surrendering to how he felt, he anchored himself to duty, to what was necessary to keep moving. That's the root of Stoicism applied to the chaos of our daily lives, acting without depending on how we feel, because true power is in discipline, not in inspiration. So, my friend, when you find yourself hesitating because you don't feel ready to take that life-changing step, remember, the power is in doing, not in feeling. Are you ready? First, start with the smallest possible action. Spend 5 minutes on that task you've been postponing. If it's studying for a course, just open the book and read 1 page. If it's organizing your finances, quickly jot down your expenses. The point isn't the quantity, it's breaking the inertia. Second, accept that you'll make mistakes. Getting it wrong isn't just normal, it's necessary to learn and improve. Don't fear failure or an imperfect result, because every mistake is a stone that strengthens your path and helps turn your life into a clear, ordered road toward your goals. Third, when it's harder than ever to get going, picture this. Marcus Aurelius waking up on a Monday feeling unprepared, yawning, tempted to postpone everything, and telling himself, "Come on, the empire won't be run from bed." He'd surely encourage us to put laziness aside and take control, even when motivation is on strike. So here's the truth. Organizing your life and turning chaos into real success requires you to take action, without excuses and without waiting to feel ready. Because the magic isn't in feeling prepared, it's in taking that first firm, decisive step that sets everything else in motion. Are you ready to be the captain of your own life, even when the storm is raging? Ninth lesson. No one's coming to save you, and that's a good thing. Have you ever caught yourself fantasizing that something or someone will come and rescue you? An unexpected message that changes everything, an offer that pulls you out of that job you hate, a person who arrives, understands you, and fixes you from the inside without needing an explanation. Believe me, we've all been there. It's easy to imagine that real change shows up like it does in the movies, with epic music and sudden salvation. But life, my friend, doesn't work that way. No, the truth is that no one is coming to save you. And even though that sounds harsh, it's actually the best thing that could ever happen to you. It's like that story of the man who fell into a well, a deep, damp, dark well. He spent days looking up, shouting, waiting for someone to pass by and throw him a rope. "Help! I'm down here!" But no one came, not a soul. Night fell, rain came, and he kept looking at the sky like it was going to open up. Until finally, exhausted, he started digging through the mud with his bare hands, out of pure instinct, out of desperation. And that's when he felt it. Underneath all that mud, something harder. He wiped off his fingers and saw it was stone. A step, then another and another. Steps carved into the wall. They had always been there. He just never looked for them, because he was so obsessed with being rescued. It never occurred to him that the way out was buried right there in the mud, where no one else could see it for him. That's exactly what we do when we place our power outside of ourselves, when we believe that something external will give us the life we want. And who understood this better than anyone? The Stoics, of course. Epictetus said, "Don't seek for events to happen as you wish, but wish for events to happen as they do, and your life will go well." It's an elegant way to remind you that the sooner you accept that no one else is coming to change your reality, the sooner you'll start truly moving forward. Do you know what they call this in today's world? Laia Soler, in her podcast Unfiltered Psychology, calls it the magic waiting syndrome. And no, it's not from a fairy tale. It's what happens when you say, "I'll move out of this place," once I'm in a relationship, as if freedom had to come with a +1. Or when you're in a job you hate but do nothing, secretly hoping your boss will suddenly realize it and say, "Hey, I've undervalued you this whole time. Let's raise your pay and title." Or when you know you want to join a gym, move to another city, start that project, but instead of acting, you wait for a sign, as if a glowing neon message will show up saying, Now's the time, do it. And in the meantime, you do nothing, you just wait. But the truth is, my friend, that sign isn't coming. Because the only person who can authorize your change is you. Think about your own life for a moment. Are you waiting for your boss to recognize your talent before you dare to ask for that promotion? Waiting for that person to say they feel the same before you take a step? Are you waiting until you have more time, more energy, more motivation to start the gym, the book, the change? If so, you're handing over the wheel of your life to something you can't control. You're postponing your transformation because no one's clapping, and in the meantime, time keeps moving. So, are you ready to change this? I want to propose 3 things. First, write down clearly what you're waiting for. Literally, put it on paper. Are you waiting for your partner to change? For anxiety to go away on its own? For your finances to fix themselves without addressing them? Write it all down. Then cross it out, do it for real. That thing you're waiting for isn't going to show up the way you think. Second, ask yourself with brutal honesty what you would do if you knew no one was coming to help. If you knew that everything you don't do for yourself will simply remain undone. Where would you put your energy? What would you stop postponing? And third, do just one thing today that doesn't depend on anyone's permission. Don't post it. Don't explain it. Don't look for applause. Do it in silence. For you. Because that's where real change begins, in what you do when no one's watching. My friend, stop looking up at the sky waiting for helicopters. What you need is already beneath your feet. Your legs, your decision, your next steps. That's your way out. And it's right under the mud you haven't dared to move in years. Lesson 10. Let your routine hold you up when everything falls apart. There was a time when everything felt like it was crashing down on me. My job didn't fulfill me. Relationships felt like a constant uphill battle. And there were days when anxiety didn't even let me breathe. I felt lost, disconnected, like I was stuck in a life that didn't quite fit. But there was something small, that kept me standing. It wasn't grand decisions, motivational quotes, or midnight miracles. It was the fact that I took cold showers every morning, that I went for a 15-minute walk without checking my phone, that I wrote down whatever was on my mind, even if it made no sense. 3 simple things. But those 3 things became my safety rope. They didn't fix my world, but they kept it from swallowing me whole. And the strange part? I wasn't doing it to show anyone. In fact, I felt embarrassed. Because while everyone was posting their perfectly productive mornings online, I was just trying to make it to noon without falling apart. But then I realized I didn't need to prove anything. My transformation wasn't meant to look pretty or be applauded. And that's why I found inspiration in what Marcus Aurelius did in his time. Before the sun even rose, he was already training his mind. He didn't wait for a good day. He prepared himself to endure, no matter what came. That was the routine that held him together. My friend, so often we don't do what we really need because we're afraid of seeming weird, boring, or too disciplined. What people might think holds you back more than your actual need for structure. But if you don't defend your space, no one's going to build it for you. And when things start falling apart, because they will, you won't have anything to hold on to. That's why you need a routine that doesn't rely on your mood, one that works when you're full of energy, and when you've got nothing left in the tank. As Jay Alderton, ex-military and British coach, says, "You can't build motivation in the middle of a disaster. It's trained before." Imagine him yelling that at you in the pouring rain with his British accent. And he's right. You don't create habits when you're hitting rock bottom. You build them beforehand, on the days when everything feels fine. They're like pillars in your life. Maybe you don't even notice them when things are steady. But when everything else collapses, they're the only thing still standing. Seneca said it differently, but just as powerfully. Life is not about waiting for the storm to pass, but about learning to walk in the rain. And if you're wondering where to start, don't look for anything complicated. Here are 3 very simple, but powerful ideas. First, design your emergency routine. Pick 3 things you'll do even on your worst days. They can be small, making your bed, walking for 10 minutes, writing 3 lines on a page. They just need to be yours, things you can stick to without relying on anything external. Second, for the next 7 days, track what you do every morning. No judgment. Just observe. Do you start your day for you or for everyone else? And third, change just one habit. 1. Replace the most useless one in your routine with something that adds value. For example, instead of opening Instagram first thing in the morning, open your notes app and write 1 sentence that reminds you why you're on this path. As Seneca wrote, life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to walk through the rain. And if you don't know what to lean on when everything falls apart, maybe it's time to build something that truly holds you. Now tell me, what's that small habit you're going to protect, even on your grayest days? Drop it in the comments, that will be your anchor. And maybe also your starting point. Lesson 11. Stop worrying about what you can't control. Let me tell you a story my grandfather used to share about a neighbor who owned a small farm. Every day, this man would take his wheelbarrow to carry his harvest to the market. But here's the thing. Along with the fresh potatoes he'd just dug up, he also piled on a bunch of things he didn't need. Rocks, dry branches, old junk he found lying around. He loaded it all into the wheelbarrow as if it were important. One day, his donkey started slowing down, struggling to move forward. The man complained, saying the road was too hard. But what he didn't realize was that all that useless weight was stopping him from getting the truly important stuff. Those fresh potatoes he had worked so hard for, to the market on time. A neighbor finally said to him, "Why are you carrying so many things that aren't useful? If you lighten the wheelbarrow, your donkey can carry what really matters and you'll get there faster." At first, the man ignored him, but little by little he started letting go of the extra weight. Soon his donkey was strong again, and the potatoes reached the market fresh and on time. This story, my friend, is just like that invisible backpack we carry in our minds, full of worries, doubts, and things we can't control. Those rocks and pieces of junk don't just fail to help us, they actually keep us from moving forward and organizing the chaos in our lives so we can reach our goals with strength. And you? How many things are you carrying that don't really belong to you? That endless traffic jam that makes you late and ruins your day. A message someone didn't reply to that puts you in a bad mood. Other people's opinions about you, which sometimes weigh heavier than your own thoughts. Or that anxiety about the future, about things that might happen, but never do. You probably know what it's like to stay awake at night thinking about something that already happened and can't be changed. Or to feel nervous about something completely outside your control, like the weather or the economy. All of that is weight you're carrying for no reason. Without realizing it, those uncontrollable worries are stealing the energy you need for what truly matters. Your peace of mind, your focus, and ultimately, your ability to put your life in order and move toward real, lasting success. Let me remind you of something we often forget. Real power lies in learning to let go, to release those invisible burdens that stop you from moving forward and keep you trapped in mental chaos. Because if you keep dragging that weight, you'll never be free to build the clear path that leads to your goals. Now's the perfect moment to remember Epictetus's words. It's not things that disturb us, but our opinion about them. You see it, right? It's not external events that disrupt your peace. It's how you choose to interpret them. That shift in perspective is the key to organizing your inner chaos and focusing your energy on what truly depends on you. And you can start doing that today, if you really want to focus on organizing your life. First, try this simple yet powerful exercise. Take a sheet of paper and draw 2 circles, one inside the other. In the inner circle, write everything that's truly under your control, your actions, your decisions, your words. In the outer circle, write everything you can't change, the weather, other people's opinions, traffic, the past. Seeing it clearly is the first step toward letting go of what isn't yours to change and focusing on what is. Then, when anxiety or worry takes over because of something you can't control, stop and practice conscious breathing. Inhale deeply, counting to 4. Hold for a couple of seconds, and slowly exhale, counting to 6. Repeat this cycle several times. It's a simple but effective tool to lower stress and regain control in the middle of chaos. Also, create your own release mantra. It can be something short yet powerful, like, I accept what I can't change, and I act on what I can. Repeat it every time you notice yourself getting caught up in negative thoughts or useless worries. That mantra becomes your shield to protect your mind and keep it focused on what moves you forward. Organizing your life and taking control over the chaos around you isn't about changing the world. It's about changing how you see it. My friend, letting go of what's not in your hands gives you the energy and clarity you need to build a strong path toward your goals. So tell me, what rock are you going to drop today so you can walk lighter? Leave it in the comments or simply write, I let go and move forward. Because that's the first step to turning disorder into a success that lasts. Lesson 12. Be quiet and prove it. My friend, what's the point of saying you're going to change if you already know you won't? How many times have you promised to start on Monday, only for Monday to bring just another excuse? Do you realize you've become your own saboteur? When you're always talking about what you're going to do but never actually doing it, what you're really looking for is a pat on the back, some quick validation. But that's not prioritizing yourself. Truly prioritizing yourself, my friend, is doing what you need to do, even if no one sees it, even if no one claps for you. Picture this. You tell your friends you're going to change your habits, that this time you're getting up early, putting your phone away at night, eating well, and working out. You get hyped up by their, that's awesome, and good for you. Monday comes. You sleep in, skip breakfast, and tell yourself, well, I'll start tomorrow. Tuesday, you order fast food because you're stressed. By Wednesday, you've forgotten everything you said. But in your mind, you still feel good because you already said it. And there's the trap. You feel like you've made progress just because you announced it, not because you did it. If you need a real-world example, look at what Nathaniel Drew did. He realized that talking about his goals publicly drained the energy he needed to follow through. He said every time he said it out loud, it felt like he'd already accomplished something without having done a thing. So he made a choice: work in silence, stop announcing, and the change was real. In one of his videos, he says it clearly. Some things are better built in the dark, because when you stop chasing applause, you finally get results. Epictetus put it even more bluntly over 2,000 years ago. Don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Don't talk about what you're going to do it. Don't share your plans just to get encouragement. Follow through, even if no one knows. He was enslaved for part of his life, yet lived with such integrity that we still remember him today. Can you picture Epictetus saying, starting Monday, I'll be more disciplined? No, because he was already doing it. So if you're tired of feeling empty after all those broken promises, do the opposite. Stop saying it. Protect yourself from your own smoke. Start in silence. If you're going to wake up early, set the alarm. But tell no one. Just do it. If you're cutting sugar, don't post about it. Just do it. If you're starting a project, don't post pics of your laptop. Just work. Not to hide, but to protect what matters. And if someday you wonder whether it's worth doing things without telling anyone, remember this. Nothing shines brighter than someone who changes without asking for permission. Because real change doesn't make noise. You see it in someone's energy, in their eyes, in their consistency. That's the kind of transformation that matters. The one that doesn't chase likes. The one that doesn't need witnesses. You are not what you announce, you are what you do. What you repeat. What you hold on to when no one's watching. And if today you choose to prioritize yourself, don't let the world hear it. Let them feel it. Because that's the kind of change that truly transforms your life from the inside out. That's the change that gives you back control. Lesson 13. Choose your circle like it's medicine. Have you ever left a hangout feeling more drained than if you'd worked 12 hours under the sun? Being around people who suck your energy is like taking a painkiller for a headache when the real issue is in your stomach. Not only do you not get better, you actually get worse. That's what happens with your circle. Sometimes you surround yourself with people thinking they'll ease your anxiety, your insecurity, your emptiness. But what they really do is mask the symptom while the problem keeps growing. Some relationships feel like relief, but they're just distraction, or worse, anesthesia. And if you spend your life searching for others to complete you, you'll forget that real transformation starts from within, in silence, in building a solid life that doesn't need anyone's validation. Seneca said it clearly: avoid those who make you worse without you even realizing it. Because that's the real danger. The people who drain you little by little, who don't insult you but slowly dim your light, who don't block your growth but never remind you of it either. And when you finally realize it, you've spent years justifying yourself, shrinking, and adjusting to something that gives you nothing back. Psychologist Julian Rios talks about ultra-processed relationships, the ones that seem delicious at first, all laughs, chemistry, and promises. But then they leave you with emotional hangovers, a hollow feeling, and a knot in your chest. He talks about it in a video online, how he spent years with a group of friends around whom he always felt like he had to perform. Be funny, avoid certain topics, fake excitement. One day, after an especially exhausting meetup, he thought, "I'm more tired after seeing them than before I got there." And that's when it hit him. It wasn't friendship, it was social dependence. Think about this. You've met up with a lifelong friend. You're having a drink at a cafe, and as soon as you mention you're thinking of changing jobs, she frowns. "Aren't you scared? Things are really tough right now." Then she adds with a forced smile, "Well, you've always been a bit impulsive, haven't you?" Every comment is disguised as concern, but it shrinks you inside. By the end of the afternoon, you find yourself defending your choices like you're being interrogated. And when you get home, you feel smaller, more confused, more exhausted than before. And the worst part? It's not the first time. But you keep showing up. Because she's one of the old ones. Because you don't want any drama. Because letting go hurts more than staying. Even if you're paying for it with your peace. But not everything has to be negative. There are also vitamin people. The ones who don't flatter you, but ask the kind of questions that wake you up. The ones who don't applaud everything but respect you. The ones who see you falter and don't judge you, but won't let you stay stuck either. Those people are the medicine you need. And maybe now you're asking yourself, how do I know if I'm surrounded by the right kind of medicine? First, make a list of the 5 people you talk to the most each week. Don't overthink it, just write. Then, next to each name, jot down how you feel after being with them. Use emojis if it helps. Lighter, more stressed, more yourself, more confused. Second, try a 48-hour social fast with the person who drains you the most. No big announcement, no drama. Just create space and notice how your energy shifts, your thoughts, even your body language. Third, schedule one conversation a month with someone who inspires you. Not to ask for anything, just to learn, listen, or simply share a different kind of moment. It could be someone you know or someone you follow online. Message them. Leave a comment. Join the discussion. Sometimes a tiny connection can spark big changes. Tell me who you spend your days with, and I'll tell you what version of yourself you're growing into. Because you can have all the goals, read every book, and repeat every motivational quote. But if your environment is toxic, if what you breathe in is judgment, sarcasm, or resignation, you'll get poisoned without even noticing. That's why, before looking outside for what you think you're missing, check what you're letting in. Sometimes building a steady life starts with cleaning the air you breathe and surrounding yourself with people who, simply put, don't dim your light. Lesson 14. Before you change, look inside yourself. I'm sure there have been times when you've wanted to change something in your life, but without the slightest idea why you do what you do. Here's a challenge. Close your eyes right now and ask yourself honestly, why do I always react the same way? What pushes me? What holds me back? That inward look, my friend, is the real starting point for turning the disorder in your daily life into a clear path toward your goals. Imagine your mind as an old house full of rooms you've never fully explored. Some doors are closed, others are open. But do you know what's inside? Because no, you can't just walk in and start redecorating without first going in. There could be broken furniture, messy corners, or a room full of cobwebs. If you want to turn that house into a place you actually want to be, you first need to look bravely and understand what's in each room. Well, my friend, reflection is exactly that. Opening those doors and facing whatever you find. Picture this. Maybe it sounds familiar. You're with a friend, someone close to you, and suddenly an argument starts. Maybe it was over something small, a misunderstanding, or simply the tone in which something was said. You react instantly with irritation or frustration, and in the middle of the argument you catch yourself thinking, why do I always get so upset over the same things? Why can't I keep my cool? Your friend says something like, it wasn't a big deal, I was just joking. But in your mind, the answer is a volcano that won't go out. Later that night, you're sitting alone in bed, maybe with your phone on silent and your mind calmer. You ask yourself, no filters, no excuses, what really made me blow up? What's driving me to react this way every time? Why does this argument affect me more than it should? That's when you start seeing repeating patterns, old stories you haven't resolved, that show up in every fight, in every tense moment. And that, my friend, is looking inside before trying to change what's outside. That's exactly what Ben Francis, the young founder of Gymshark, the sportswear brand known worldwide, had to do. When he started out, Ben was so focused on growing his company that he barely had time to think about anything else. He worked nonstop, always stressed and frustrated. His temper was on edge, and it deeply affected the work environment. He noticed that people kept their distance, there was tension, and the team wasn't functioning the way he expected. One afternoon, one of his closest collaborators told him something that hurt, but also hit him like a wake-up call. Ben, have you thought that maybe the problem isn't us, but you? When you're always angry and tense, it's hard for us to do our best. Those words made him stop even if he didn't like hearing them. But he decided to look inward, to ask himself honestly what was going on, what emotions were behind his behavior. He sat alone and started asking himself hard questions. Why do I let stress take over me? What's stopping me from being a better leader? How can I change the way I react to problems? It was an uncomfortable process, because it meant facing his own weaknesses and recognizing that part of the chaos in his company was coming from within him. This is where Epictetus's philosophy makes perfect sense. It's not things that upset us, but our opinion about them. Ben realized he couldn't control everything happening around him, but he could control how he responded. That new perspective allowed him to reorganize his mind, lower the tension, and transform the way he led. Over time, Ben started changing small things. He learned to control his reactions, to listen more, and to appreciate his team. Little by little, the environment became more collaborative, ideas flowed, and the company grew. Not just in numbers, but in unity and strength. What once felt like an inner chaos that disorganized everything became the solid foundation that powered Gymshark's real and lasting success. I'm telling you this because, to turn your chaos into success, the first thing you need to do is look inside yourself. Try setting aside 5 minutes each day to sit and ask yourself honestly what drives you and what blocks you. It could be right before bed or first thing in the morning. The important thing is that it's your space without distractions, where you allow yourself to be truthful with yourself. You can also keep a quick journal. It doesn't have to be a book. Even a short note will do. Write down the intense emotions you feel during the day, the ones that impact or puzzle you the most. When you read them back later, you'll start to see patterns that until now have been hidden. It's like having a map of the inner chaos you didn't even know was there. Lesson 15. Be yourself. No masks, no costumes. Have you ever felt like you go through life wearing a mask, trying to be someone you're not just to be liked? I'm sure you have. Maybe at work, with friends, or on social media. You work hard to look perfect, to hide your weaknesses, to fit into the mold you think people expect of you. And at the end of the day, what happens? You feel drained, as if you've been carrying a backpack full of rocks that aren't yours. That invisible weight steals your energy and quietly feeds your inner chaos. Authenticity is like taking off that heavy armor that doesn't belong to you. Imagine all that effort to pretend being like carrying a sack of bricks when all you need is a light backpack to walk toward your goals. Breathing freely, showing your scars, and being real isn't weakness, it's your greatest strength. It's better to be a genuine tree with deep roots, even with a few broken branches, than a costume no one can hold up forever. Marcus Aurelius knew this firsthand. In the middle of both internal and external battles, he wrote, "Perform every action as though it were your last." He didn't just mean living with intensity. He meant being true to yourself in every moment, without masks or costumes. For him, an authentic life was the only life worth living, because pretending wastes energy for nothing. When you're genuine, you organize your mind and your life with less noise and less fighting against yourself. Let me give you a concrete example. Imagine you're at work, playing a character to be liked. Maybe you hide what you really think or feel, just to avoid judgment or to be accepted. At first, it might seem like it works, but little by little you notice that performance drains you. You get home tired, stressed, and with an empty feeling you can't explain. Now imagine you decide to change and start speaking honestly, expressing your ideas respectfully without fear. Not everyone will agree with you, some might even pull away. But the atmosphere shifts, everything flows more easily, and you feel lighter, as if you dropped that backpack full of rocks. I went through that myself, my friend. I remember the first time I met my partner's family, that feeling of having to pretend to fit in, hiding my real tastes and opinions. I'd talk about things I didn't even care about just to avoid seeming different. After every gathering, I felt exhausted, as if I'd been wearing a mask that weighed a ton. But one day I got tired of the lie and decided to be authentic, without filters or masks. To my surprise, when I opened up, I found out my brother-in-law had a huge passion for the same kind of music I love. And you know what? That led us to plan a dream trip together and build a friendship that never would have happened if I had kept pretending. That's when I realized that organizing your life isn't just about managing tasks. It's also about managing how you relate to yourself and to others. So, my friend, next time you feel like you have to put on a mask to fit in, remember what Carl Rogers, a psychologist who deeply understood the power of authenticity, said. According to him, when you show yourself as you are, without filters or masks, you free yourself from the constant anxiety of trying to please everyone. Being authentic not only brings peace, but also helps you connect more deeply with yourself and others, freeing you from the weight of seeking external approval that only complicates your life and your path to success. To start, try being honest in small, everyday conversations. You don't have to reveal your whole life or overexpose yourself, but show something genuine. It could be an opinion, a feeling, or simply saying, "I'm not feeling great today," instead of pretending everything is fine. I challenge you to care a little less about what others think and focus more on what you truly feel and believe. Next, work on accepting your imperfections as part of your strength. No tree is perfect, and its broken branches are part of its beauty and history. When you accept who you are, with all the good and the hard parts, you build from a solid foundation that allows you to organize your inner chaos and move toward your goals without unnecessary weight. Lastly, if taking that step feels hard, create a small daily ritual. It could be writing one sentence in a journal about how you were authentic that day, or what you did to open up a little more. This practice will help you build the courage to be yourself, even when everything around you seems to demand a mask. Lesson 16. Knowing when to stop is also strength. Have you noticed there's always something left to do? That even when you sit down, your mind is still on its feet? Like stopping isn't allowed. Like taking a break means losing. But my friend, there's something you need to start recognizing. Stopping is also moving forward. Because if you don't know how to stop, you don't know how to take care of yourself. And if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not living, you're just surviving. The human mind is a lot like a horse. If you make it gallop without rest, one day it collapses. But a wise rider doesn't push it until it drops. He watches it, understands it, and knows when to slow down. Not because he's weak, but because he wants to keep riding. And you? Are you riding or just holding on? Think about this scene. You probably know it well. It's Tuesday. You wake up with a headache, but you down a double coffee and head out like it's nothing. You get to work and go from one meeting to the next. You eat in front of your computer, answering emails between bites. Someone asks for help with something urgent. And even though you're on the edge, you say, "Sure, send it over." You get home dragging your feet. Your partner sees the tension, but you say the classic, "I'm fine." You shower while mentally going over tomorrow's to-do list. And that night you don't sleep. Again. But the next day, you do the exact same thing. You keep telling yourself, "I'll rest this weekend." But Saturday comes, and it's packed too. What you don't realize is that if you don't stop, life will stop you. And when it does, it'll show up as anxiety, burnout, or something even louder. Then what? I used to think rest was a reward you give yourself after you've finished everything, but you never finish everything. That's when guilt creeps in. That little voice that says, "Really? You're going to stop now, with all that's left to do?" Psychologist Nick Wignall explains that the problem isn't laziness. It's the guilt we feel when we're not being productive. As he puts it, rest isn't a luxury or a sign of weakness. It's part of what lets us perform well, think clearly, and not burn out. But even when we rest, we do it wrong. We meditate with an app in hand, tracking our breaths like tasks. Can you imagine Marcus Aurelius getting a notification? Time to be more mindful. And if you don't know where to begin, take a cue from someone who did, Seneca. He didn't see rest as a luxury, but as a duty to oneself. While the world rushed by, he stopped to read himself, to think, to observe. His rest wasn't empty. It was reflection, study, growth. And he said it clearly. If you don't stop to examine your soul, you'll end up acting like everyone else, without direction. Imagine turning rest into an act of growth, not escape. That's what Seneca did, and you can do it too. Want to know how? Start with something as simple as scheduling your rest like you would a meeting with someone important. Because it is. It's with you. Block out time to do nothing, or better yet, to do something with no purpose. Go for a walk, stare out the window, breathe. And try leaving a day without plans. Let your body follow your decisions, not your schedule. If guilt shows up, write a list of all the reasons why you need and deserve to stop. Read it out loud. And remember, resting isn't quitting. It's reminding yourself that you matter too. My friend, even the tallest trees rest in winter. They don't bloom all year. And that's okay. Because they know that to grow strong, they have to stop first. If you choose to prioritize yourself, that also means knowing when to stop running. Because sometimes the truest act of self-love is sitting down with yourself in silence and saying, "Today I take care of me." 17th lesson. Time doesn't come back. Do you ever feel like the days are slipping by and you have no idea where your life went? Like you're on a boat full of holes, bailing water non-stop, overwhelmed, exhausted, not realizing that you're sinking not from lack of effort, but because you're not fixing what actually matters. And the worst part, you've never stopped to ask if this was even your course, or if you've just been drifting wherever the current pushed you. That's how a lot of people live. Busy calendars and empty souls. Not because they don't have time, but because they've given it away without even noticing. Let me tell you something that'll hit home. Roberto was a programmer and a data freak. He tracked everything: website traffic, his team's performance, even the calories in his mom's cooking. Always looking out for everyone else. He recommended smartwatches to his friends, pushed his partner to see the physio, bought supplements for his dad. But he never even looked at himself in the mirror. His life had become a screen full of metrics, except his own. He'd wake up and sit in front of the computer with no ritual except a cold coffee. At 50, during a routine checkup, his doctor told him, "You're on the verge of diabetes. How much do you move during the day?" Roberto shrugged. He'd never asked himself that. He bought his first fitness tracker and the answer was brutal. Less than 1,000 steps a day. Practically nothing. That's when it hit him. He'd spent years prioritizing everything, except himself. He had lived like he was his own final project, at the bottom of his own list. Since then, he blocks out his mornings for walking, doesn't answer emails before 10, and says his health is no longer in the cloud. It's in his feet. Because having data isn't enough, my friend. If you don't make yourself a priority, not even the best algorithm can save you. And if anyone understood this clearly, it was Seneca. In his essay on the shortness of life, he wrote, "It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." And when he said it, he wasn't talking about productivity or squeezing the most out of every minute. He was talking about awareness, about knowing exactly where your life is going, because each hour is just that, life that won't come back. Seneca knew the best investment isn't in property or stocks, it's in your hours. Because if you don't protect your time, you're protecting nothing. So if you feel like your time is slipping away without leaving a trace, hear this. First, do a brutally honest audit of your days. For 3 real days, write down how you spend every half hour. No filters, no excuses. Only then will you see where your life is leaking. Maybe in endless scrolling, in favors no one returns, in worries that add no value. Next, create your list of sacred hours, moments you reserve for yourself, even if the world's falling apart. Maybe it's the first hour of your day for movement, half an hour in the afternoon to write, 20 phone-free minutes just to think. The amount doesn't matter. What matters is that it's non-negotiable. That's your appointment with you. And finally, before you say yes to something, ask yourself this. Does this deserve a part of my life? Because that's what you're giving. Not a little break, not a spare moment. Minutes that won't come back. And your answer, my friend, needs to be honest. Because your peace is worth more than a full calendar. Each day isn't just another square on the calendar. It's a chance you won't get again. And if you don't prioritize yourself, no one else is going to do it for you. But even if you manage to protect your time, there's one more thing you have to learn to guard just as fiercely. Because if you don't, everything else slips away too. Lesson number 18. Act every day, even when you don't feel like it. Have you ever wondered why, despite your dreams and your determination, you still end up putting off what you know you should be doing? Why one day you're full of energy to move forward, and the next you can barely get out of bed without feeling resistance? How is it possible that the mountain of things you want to change is still sitting there, untouched, while your motivation collapses? The answer lies in understanding that motivation is not the real engine of change. Discipline is. And discipline, my friend, is built even when you don't feel like it. Think of discipline like a muscle. It doesn't get stronger only when you're at your best, when inspiration visits you, or when you're in the mood. No. The muscle of discipline grows because you keep training, even when it hurts, even when laziness and doubt try to make you stop. Every action you take without feeling like it is a brick you lay in building your inner strength. A silent yet solid step that brings you closer to mastering that inner chaos and turning it into a clear path toward your goals. When someone struggles with emotions and fluctuating willpower, Epictetus reminded us that we should not be slaves to our passions, but do what we must. What does that mean? That true freedom is not in waiting to feel ready or motivated to act, but in fulfilling the duty you have to yourself, without letting shifting moods control you. Epictetus knew that waiting for the perfect feeling is falling into the trap of inertia. Real strength is born when you choose to do what's right, not just what you feel like doing. Imagine you've been wanting to take that course you know will open doors for you, but every day new excuses appear. I'm not in the mood today. I'm tired. I'd rather rest, you tell yourself. In the end, that project stays on your wish list and success remains a distant dream. That excuse, as human as it is common, is exactly what keeps disorder alive in your life. Because chaos doesn't dissolve by waiting for the perfect motivation. It fades only by acting even when you don't feel like it, when everything in you is telling you to stop. This is where James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, makes a crucial point. Build systems that make action automatic, so you don't depend on the motivation that comes and goes. When you have a system, like a daily routine or reminders that guide you, you don't let your mood decide for you. You simply do what needs to be done, again and again, without debate. That's what turns the disorder of your days into steady progress. The foundation for transforming inner chaos into real, lasting success. So, are you ready to be stronger than your emotions and take the reins every day? Here's how to do it without depending on the motivation that slips away whenever it wants. First, create a daily routine that's impossible to avoid. For example, prepare all your materials the night before. Books open, notes organized, notebook and pen ready. That way, when you sit down, you don't waste time searching or setting things up. Action starts immediately, and excuses disappear. Second, use visual reminders or apps to track your habits. Picture a wall calendar or an app on your phone where you mark every day you keep your commitment. Seeing that chain of completed days will give you an extra push, because what isn't tracked or seen often gets forgotten or loses strength. Third, when motivation fails, and it will many times, keep phrases on hand that work like a trigger for action. Something simple yet powerful, like, "Do it, even if you don't feel like it," or "One small step is better than no step." Recall these words and let them lead you when your mind tries to sabotage you with doubts or tiredness. My friend, consistent action is the engine that drives any deep change. You don't need big gestures or bursts of energy. What really counts is being able to take those steps, however small, every single day. That quiet perseverance is what eventually puts your mental disorder in order and transforms it into a clear path toward your goals. So next time laziness or lack of will tries to stop you, remember that every action, no matter how small, is a victory over the chaos trying to take over your life. And in that daily effort lies the true strength, the one that takes you from confusion to clarity, from disorder to lasting success. Keep your eyes on that path because, as Epictetus said, constant struggle and steadfastness are the art of living well. Discipline is your best ally for taking control, organizing your inner chaos, and building the life you deserve. Lesson 19. Noise is an addiction. Silence is an act of power. Picture Marcus Aurelius at the end of the day, sitting in a stone chamber, torches dimmed, the sky filling with stars. No notifications, no artificial sounds, no outside opinions. Just him, his breath, and the same questions that visited him every night. Did I act wisely? Did I stay in control or let myself be dragged by impulse? Did I choose from within or from what others expected of me? In that world without screens, without constant noise, true strength was forged in silence. Now think about yourself. Could you be there alone, no phone, no music, no constant content filling every second? No pretending that all that chaos outside isn't just an excuse to avoid looking inward. Because silence isn't empty, my friend. It's full of the answers you've been postponing your whole life. Your mind right now might look more like a shaken fish tank, thoughts crashing into each other non-stop. And if you never stop, the water never clears. So when was the last time you had breakfast in silence? Took a walk without earbuds? Ate a meal without staring at your phone? Every time you avoid those moments, you're sending yourself the message that your inner world doesn't deserve your attention. Like Diego Dreyfus says, some people can't stand being alone not because they're afraid of silence, but because they're afraid of what they might discover if the noise stops. And that's how you get used to living outward, chasing validation, distracting yourself from the emptiness you don't want to face. But if you truly want to change, if you're ready to stop living for others and start building a solid life from the inside out, then you have to learn to listen to yourself. Epictetus said it plainly. If you wish to be wise, first learn to listen to yourself. And now more than ever, when everyone talks non-stop, when there's noise even in your fridge, the most revolutionary act is to dare to be with yourself without distractions. Are you ready? The first step won't be easy, but I know you can do it. Try having one breakfast in total silence. No phone, no music, no background voices. Just you and your thoughts. At first, it'll feel endless. Time will seem to drag. But that's a good sign. It means your mind is starting to detach from the noise. And that is the beginning. Next, create your own daily minute of controlled noise. A moment when you turn everything off and sit with a blank page. Write whatever comes up. Anything. Even if it doesn't make sense. Even if it embarrasses you. Because those words that surface in silence are usually the ones you most need to hear. And finally, go out and observe. Literally, look at a tree, the sky. With no headphones, no playlist, no goal of being productive. Just look. You might even notice your neighbor painted their house neon blue, and you'd never seen it before. Silence doesn't remove the noise. It reveals it. And once you see it, once you recognize it, you can't cover it up with distractions anymore. That's when, my friend, you stop searching outside for the calm that can only be built within. Slowly, without grand gestures, that's when the real transformation begins. So, my friend, are you willing to meet yourself without distractions? Lesson 20. Your brain can change. Use it. I have no patience. I'll never be good at managing my time. I'm just messy. That won't change. I can't concentrate for more than 5 minutes. I don't know how to change my habits. I always end up the same. I'm sure you've told yourself something like that more than once. Those phrases loop in your head, stopping you before you even try to move forward. But what? Do you think your brain is a stone tower, rigid and immovable? Spoiler, it's not. Your brain is far more flexible than you imagine. It's not an old castle you can't chip away at. It's a living city, full of streets, roads, and plazas that you can remodel, open, or close at will. Do you know why your brain changes? Because of neuroplasticity. It's like having a city where you can build new streets, close others, or completely redesign neighborhoods. Every thought, every action, every decision you make is like opening a new avenue or tearing down an old wall. And the more you walk those new roads, the faster and easier they become. If you've ever felt stuck in negative thoughts or habits that hold you back, now you know. You're not doomed to them forever. You have the power to redraw the map of your mind. This isn't just a nice idea or a theory from a book. Let me tell you about a study from the University of California that will blow your mind. They took a group of people and had them meditate for just a few minutes a day, focusing on breathing and calming the mind. At first, nothing seemed different. But after some time, boom, the results were incredible. The researchers found that their brains actually changed physically. Yes, really. Gray matter density increased in areas related to attention, memory, and emotional control. And even better, the brain regions linked to stress and anxiety, the ones that make us lose control and sink into chaos, actually shrank. Impressive, right? Every time you sit to meditate or simply breathe deeply, you're not just relaxing, you're literally reshaping your brain. And this isn't only about meditation. Every new habit you learn, every small change you make in your day sends a clear message to your brain. This path is worth taking. So when you decide to put your life in order and focus on what matters, you're training your mind to sustain that order. Your brain adapts, and that inner change starts to turn the disorder in your daily life into a clear path toward your goals. Picture this, my friend. You've always told yourself, "I was never good at math," or "I can't handle complex numbers." Those phrases have been with you forever, like a broken record you can't switch off. Now imagine you've just opened your own business, and suddenly you have to handle numbers. No excuses. You sign up for a course, you find an instructor who knows how to motivate you, and little by little, day after day, you start mastering what once felt impossible. That wall you thought you could never climb becomes a road you walk with confidence. That person who was trapped by self-imposed limits, that's you now, taking control and turning mental chaos into real, lasting success. The key is to replace "I can't" with "I don't know yet." With every small step, you open new roads in your brain, building new connections that lead you straight to your goals. Your mind isn't rigid, it's a city in constant evolution. And every habit you practice with discipline is a brand new street taking you closer to the life you want to create. So, my friend, are you ready to use that incredible ability you already have? First, let's try an exercise. Think about a skill you've always wanted to learn but told yourself your brain just isn't made for it. Maybe it's learning to code, mastering a design app, improving your English to land better clients, or becoming a digital content creator. It doesn't matter what it is. Whatever you've thought isn't for me. Here's the truth, your brain is ready to adapt and grow. It just needs you to give it space and consistency. You don't need a giant leap. Start small. Practice 5 minutes of new vocabulary, watch a short tutorial, or try a basic coding exercise. Do it daily, and you'll start building the road that takes you straight to your goals. Managing your time and energy is what will turn that potential into real, lasting success. Also, try techniques like visualization. Close your eyes and picture your desired result in detail. If you want to be more organized, imagine your workspace clean and tidy, feeling calm and focused. That mental exercise trains your brain to seek that state in reality. So the next time you catch yourself saying, "I can't," or "That's not for me," remember, that's just the beginning. It's an invitation to start shaping your reality with every action, no matter how small. The power is in your hands and in your mind. All you have to do is take that first step. Are you ready to take control and transform your life from the inside out? Lesson 21. You don't need motivation, you need direction. Motivation? Do you really think Marcus Aurelius woke up saying, "Today I feel inspired to be emperor"? Spoiler, no, because he didn't need to feel inspired. What he had was a clear sense of direction. And when you have direction, motivation takes a back seat. You get up and do what needs to be done. Period. The problem is that you've been taught to believe that without motivation, you can't start anything. That you need that spark, that hype video, that epic quote before you move. But the truth is this: energy often shows up after you start, not before. And if you wait for it to begin, you'll spend your life stuck in neutral. Motivation is fleeting. Direction, though, that's your compass. Think about that successful person you admire. Who comes to mind? Kilian Jornet climbing a mountain, chest bursting with effort? Oprah facing the cameras with a steel smile? Or maybe it's that friend of yours who built her own business from scratch? Doesn't matter who it is. Doesn't matter what they do. Do you really think they're motivated every single day? Of course not. What they all have in common isn't non-stop motivation. It's clarity. They know who they are, they know where they're going, and that, my friend, is what pushes them forward even when the fire isn't there. Vanessa Van Edwards, author of Q's and TED Speaker, has shown this too. She says the most productive people in the world aren't the most motivated. They're the ones with the clearest inner roadmap. They don't wake up to wing it. They have a direction. And when you know where you're headed, "I don't feel like it" becomes nothing more than background noise. Think of it like this: if every morning you decide what to do based on how you feel, it's like a ship asking the wind which way to sail. You're lost. One day you'll fly full speed ahead, and the next you'll be stuck. But if you're clear on your North Star, even when the wind pushes against you, you keep going. You adjust the sails. You move. My friend, if you've spent your whole life waiting for someone to say, "Come on, start," for someone to push you, to cheer you on, then what you've been chasing isn't your purpose, it's other people's approval. And that leaves you empty. Because you're living for how I'm seen, not who I want to be. So here's a powerful exercise. Every Sunday night, ask yourself, what concrete action would bring me closer this week to the person I want to become? No vague answers like read more or be better. No, something real. Like read 5 pages before bed or don't check my phone until after breakfast. And if today isn't Sunday, who cares? Start now. Then when you wake up each morning, before you grab your phone or check the time, say out loud, "Today, rain or shine, I will take 1 step forward." It doesn't have to be a big step. What matters is that it aligns with what you want to build. Oh, and one more thing. Give your direction a name. Literally. Don't say, I want to feel better. Say, I want to be someone who takes care of their body, someone who doesn't betray themselves, someone who leads with calm. Naming it leaves a mark. It reminds you where you're going when you're tempted to give up. Because direction is what gets you out of the loop. You don't need someone to hype you up anymore. No, because you already know why you're doing this. And that's the difference between living with intention and living for the next round of applause. Lesson 22. Your past isn't luggage, it's a mine. There are people who walk tall but carry a bent soul, as if they're dragging around an invisible suitcase no one else can see, but it weighs on their chest like a stone. When you carry your past like that, it doesn't just tire you out, it paralyzes you. But let me offer a different idea. What if instead of dragging it, you dig into it? What if instead of running from who you used to be, you choose to transform your past into a personal mine, full of lessons that only you can offer? Writer Najwa Zebian understood this deeply. As a child, she fled the war in Lebanon with her family. They ended up in Canada, where she felt out of place, full of shame and wounds she didn't know how to share. For years, she tried to hide her story, to speak like everyone else, live like everyone else. Until one day, after a personal experience that broke her, she realized no one was coming to rescue her. No one but her could do something meaningful with what she'd lived through. And so she did. She wrote, she cried, she wrote more. What she once kept hidden became the core of her books, like the nectar of pain. Today, her words reach millions, not because she had an easy life, but because she dared to face her pain and do something with it. Now think about yourself, my friend. Is there something in your story that still fills you with shame? A moment when you felt like a failure, like you let others or yourself down? What if that moment holds the key to something powerful you could give the world? What happened to you doesn't define you, but it can drive you. That phase when you struggled with school, maybe it's the seed that could help others learn without shame. That job that left you burned out, maybe it's the lesson that helps you build a healthy routine now. Even that relationship that shattered you, maybe it's what taught you to set boundaries and protect your peace. Marcus Aurelius summed it up in one phrase that cuts through any excuse. What stands in the way becomes the way. What's that telling you? That the past you see as a block might actually be your path forward, but only if you stop avoiding it. Only if you choose to face it, truthfully, calmly. Here's a simple thing you can do. Grab a notebook and write about the hardest moment you can remember. Write it from the perspective of the person you are today. What did you learn? What won't you allow again? What did you finally see clearly? Then go one step further. Turn it into a letter. Imagine someone else is living through the same thing and asking you for help. What would you say? What advice would you give from your own experience? Keep that letter. Don't post it. You don't need to. But save it like you would save gold. Because that's what it is. Not because of the pain, but because of what you did with it. And now I ask you to reflect. Is your past the anchor pulling you under? Or is it the quarry where you'll find the strength to stop searching outside for what's been inside you all along? Time won't make that choice. You will. Lesson 23. You're not anyone's backup. Has it ever happened to you that people only call you when someone else bails? That you're never anyone's first choice, but you still drop everything to show up? They say, Carlos can't make it, can you come instead? And you go, even though you're tired, even though you've got a million things to do, even though you promised yourself this Saturday would be yours to finally rest. But you don't know how to say no, because when you do, guilt creeps in. You're afraid they'll leave you out, because without even realizing it, other people have become your priority, even when you're not theirs. They text you and you reply instantly, even though you were in the middle of your favorite show. They call with a quick thing, and suddenly you're on the phone for an hour, listening to problems that aren't even yours. They invite you to a meeting only because no one else could go, and you show up, prepared, involved, hoping that this time they'll count on you for real. But no, you're not there to decide, just to fill in. And when you need something, that's when the phones stop ringing. That's when "I'll let you know" never happens. And the worst part? You keep showing up every time like you're everyone's backup plan, except your own. Like your life can stay on pause while people ask for favors, while they need you, while you keep abandoning yourself. Because saying no scares you. You're afraid they'll exclude you, afraid of seeming selfish, afraid that if you finally start putting yourself first, you won't know who you are. But my friend, let me make something clear. No one is going to give back the time you lost putting out fires that weren't yours. It's like you're that half-dry pen everyone uses because it's always there. Never the favorite, never the prettiest. But it works. Until one day, it runs out of ink. And what do? They toss it without a second thought. And you, who were always available, realize no one was truly there for you. They used you until you were drained, and now you're left alone with the exhaustion. That's exactly what happened to Mel Robbins. On her podcast, she's blunt. For years, she couldn't say no. She said yes to everything. Meetings, favors, commitments, even when she was falling apart inside. Until one day, she woke up with no energy, no voice, no motivation. And she realized she had erased herself, disappeared behind everyone else's needs. That was her turning point. She started saying no, blocking out time in her calendar for her priorities, showing herself respect, and what she thought would feel like rejection turned out to be freedom. You know who else had it figured out? Seneca. He didn't sugarcoat it. No wind is favorable to the sailor who doesn't know where he's going. Because if you keep changing course every time someone needs you, when are you steering your own ship? If you live just to be available, your life becomes someone else's calendar. And my friend, the time you give away doesn't come back. So if you want to take back control, it starts with putting yourself at the center. If you're tired of being everyone's backup, listen to this. First, stop replying instantly, not to punish but to honor your own pace. If you're watching a movie, finish it. If you're eating, enjoy it in peace. Whoever values you will wait, and whoever won't, never valued you anyway. Next, make a list of your non-negotiables. What are the things you're no longer postponing for anyone? Maybe it's your rest, maybe your personal project, maybe just an afternoon to yourself. Write them down, read them every week, and remember Seneca's words. If you don't know where you're going, you'll end up wherever others drag you. And lastly, practice saying no, literally. Thanks for thinking of me, but it doesn't work for me this time. No made-up excuses, no over-explaining. Saying no is also a way of saying yes to yourself. So tell me, are you going to keep waiting for someone to pick you, or are you finally going to pick yourself? Because you're not here to fill in the gaps, you're here to take up space. And only when you prioritize yourself without guilt will you start to see the world shift around you. Because when you take yourself seriously, others learn to do the same. And it all starts by stopping being the backup and finally becoming what you are, your own priority. Lesson 24. Someday is killing you. Imagine Seneca in his robe telling his assistant, "Put meditation on my schedule once I get organized." Maybe in a couple of years. Sounds absurd, right? That's exactly how ridiculous it sounds when you say, "When I have time, I'll start the project. When things calm down, I'll take care of myself. Once this rough patch is over, I'll do something for me." Spoiler, that patch never ends. There's always something more urgent, and without realizing it, you keep postponing the most important thing, yourself. I'm telling you this because I used to do it too. I remember an interview that could have changed a lot in my career. I'd been preparing for weeks. It was one of those once-in-a-lifetime chances. But on the very day, my partner asked for help with a task that wasn't even urgent. They said they could reschedule, that it wasn't a big deal. And I said yes. I canceled. I messaged the company with some lame excuse. I thought, well, if it's meant to be, another one will come. But the truth is, it wasn't fate that closed the door. It was me. I chose to prioritize everything. except my commitment to myself. And it was after that moment that I came across a quote by Marcus Aurelius that shook me. Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good. And being good, my friend, also means keeping your promises to yourself. It means no longer putting yourself last. It means realizing that the call you haven't made, the course you haven't started, the dream still on pause, it's not because you don't have time. It's because you haven't given yourself that time yet. My friend, someday is killing you. As Jay Shetty says, it's the most dangerous excuse in the world, because someday never comes. You have to claim it. And the more you delay it, the more you convince yourself that now isn't the right moment. But when will it be? When you have less energy, more responsibilities, less hope? Do you really think you'll be more ready than you are today? If you're not sure where to start, here's a simple compass you can use. Jay Shetty's advice again. To stop putting off what matters, stop making decisions based on what others expect. Instead of asking yourself, what will people think if I do this? Ask yourself this: how will I feel in 5 years if I do it, or if I don't? Try it. Think about what you've been putting off for months. Starting to write? Being honest with yourself about that relationship? Taking the leap that scares you? Now close your eyes and fast forward 5 years. You're still in the same place. Everything is the same. How does that feel? Pride or frustration? Then come back to the present and imagine the opposite. You did it. You started, even with fear. You tried. You took the leap. How do you feel now? That comparison is powerful. Because when you stop watching the clock and start looking inward, you realize the perfect moment doesn't exist. But you do. So go step by step. First, choose one decision you've been avoiding. Write it down. Second, ask yourself, how will I feel in 5 years if nothing changes? Third, answer with brutal honesty, no filters. And finally, take action today, even something small. Because you already know what'll happen if you don't, but you've yet to discover what might happen if you do. Remember this: every time you postpone yourself, you're telling the world that everything else matters more than you. But that can change, right here, today. Make it clear in the comments, I won't put myself off any longer, or just write, Stoic at heart. That will be your first step forward, the first of many. Because your life doesn't start when the world calms down. It starts the moment you decide to prioritize yourself. Lesson number 25. Comfort is your base, not your prison. My friend, picture yourself preparing for a great adventure, climbing a mountain. You can't just head straight for the summit without first setting up a base camp. That camp isn't the final destination, but without it, the climb would be a disaster. A leap into the void without a safety net. Well, your comfort zone is exactly that. Your base camp. It's not a place to get stuck in and let it consume you. It's the safe platform from which you can plan your next steps and gather momentum to grow. Marcus Aurelius, with his deep wisdom, understood this balance perfectly. He didn't run away from comfort, but he didn't get trapped in it either. For him, virtue was in finding that middle ground, using that calm as a springboard for expansion. That's why he said, don't run from comfort, but don't stay imprisoned in it. Do you know how he saw life? Like the steady beat of a heart. It contracts, it expands, it rests, and it activates without stopping. And you need that rhythm too. It's not about jumping without a parachute into chaos, nor about living locked inside your bubble. It's about moving intelligently between the two. Can you imagine Marcus Aurelius today? He wouldn't be trapped in an elevator when he could take the stairs. He wouldn't waste 5 minutes with the remote just to change the channel. He'd laugh at how comfortable we've become. And I'm not talking about luxury, but about how comfort so often turns into a golden cage. It paralyzes us, numbs us, and keeps us from growing. If there were a Stoicism for the age of the couch, he'd be the first to get up and move, even if it was just a little more. Now think about your daily routine. You wake up, make your coffee, maybe read a bit, take a shower. That routine is your base camp, your comfort zone. But the next step isn't to dive headfirst into the abyss or change everything radically. No, what you need is a small stretch. Walk 5 minutes farther, meditate 2 minutes longer, or simply change the order in which you do things. That little gesture is using comfort to grow, to turn that silent disorder in your daily life into a clear path toward your goals. Because organizing your life starts by turning that inner chaos into something manageable. And yes, at first it's hard. Whoever said growth would be easy? But listen to this. True courage isn't throwing yourself out there without a net. It's having a base so solid that it supports you with every new step. Psychologist Brené Brown explains it perfectly. Real strength is in that magical balance between moving forward without breaking and growing without burning out. Comfort isn't your enemy, my friend. It's the springboard you jump from, not the shelter where you hide forever. So here's my challenge to you. Step a little outside that base camp without losing the solid ground under your feet. First, observe and recognize which routines give you security and which ones only trap you without you realizing it. Be honest, are you still losing hours on social media? You probably think, it relaxes me. But the truth is, it distracts you and keeps you from organizing your life. Recognizing those habits will help you remove what holds you back and focus on what truly leads you to your goals. Second, add one small daily challenge, something that takes you slightly out of your comfort zone. I'm not asking for a giant change or a leap without a parachute, just a gesture that makes you think, I haven't done this before, or it scares me a bit, but I'm going to try. What could it be? Changing the order of your activities, starting the day with something different, talking to someone new, or dedicating 5 minutes to that task you always postpone. That spark of novelty is like a jolt that puts your routine in motion and begins to turn that inner chaos into something clear and organized. Every time you do something different, even if it's small, you train your mind to adapt, to grow, and to turn disorder into real, lasting success. Finally, learn to value those moments of pause. Rest is not your enemy. It's the fuel you need to keep moving without burning out. Without pauses, progress burns too fast and becomes unsustainable. Rest helps you organize your energy, recharge your mind, and take firm steps toward a life no longer ruled by chaos, but guided by an order that comes from within you. Organizing your life isn't about destroying what you have or running from the familiar. It's about using that solid base, that well-managed comfort zone, as the firm ground from which you turn chaos into real, lasting success. It's not about running non-stop, but about knowing when to accelerate and when to stop to look back, appreciate the road you've traveled, and regain your strength. Are you ready to use your base camp to your advantage and start building the life you deserve? Lesson 26. It's not your body, it's your soul. Have you ever reached the end of the day feeling completely drained? But if someone asked what you actually did, you wouldn't know what to say. Like, you didn't move a mountain, but somehow your body and mind are running on empty. It's as if you've had an app running in the background all day, quietly draining your battery. And that app is called living disconnected from yourself. You don't see it, but it drags you down. It doesn't make noise, but it weighs heavy. Because you're saying yes when you want to say no, smiling when you want to run, staying busy with everyone else's stuff so you don't have to face what you actually need to change. My friend, what if I told you that exhaustion isn't coming from physical effort? It's coming from somewhere else. It's the dull, invisible wear and tear of living on autopilot, of being so focused on others that you forget about yourself. And the worst part? When you finally break, no one notices. No one claps for the silent effort. No one rushes in to help. That's exactly what happened to Mia Friedman, an Australian journalist well known for her podcast No Filter, where she interviewed hundreds of people, hundreds of stories, emotions, lives, while trying to keep it all together herself. One day she realized she just couldn't do it anymore, not because she lacked physical energy, but because she had been soaking up everyone else's emotions pretending she was fine, and pushing forward non-stop. And when she finally broke down, no one was there. No one noticed. No one caught her. Because when you live for everyone else, they get used to it, and they start believing you can handle everything, but you're not made of stone. When she stepped back and paused the podcast for a while, it wasn't a strategy. It was survival. And she said something powerful. Constantly carrying that responsibility weighs heavily on me. What saved her wasn't applause or some magical advice or external validation. It was simply listening to her own voice and giving herself permission to stop. That's where her transformation began, in the silence, in the pause, in putting down what was never hers to carry. As Epictetus said, there are things that depend on us and things that don't. And a lot of the exhaustion that crushes you each night doesn't come from doing too much. It comes from trying to control what isn't yours. Other people's opinions, their expectations, their judgments. You spend your energy trying to please, to fit in, to follow a script you didn't write. And meanwhile, the only thing that actually does depend on you, your peace, your direction, your truth, is left waiting at the back of the line. So, do you really want your energy back? Here are a few steps to help you reconnect with yourself. First, do a day inventory. Write down everything you did yesterday and mark what gave you energy and what drained it. Be honest. If that phone call you took out of guilt left you wiped out, mark it, because until you see it clearly, you can't change it. Second, practice the kind no. It doesn't mean being rude, it means being clear. Learn to say, thanks, but that doesn't work for me, without launching into a 10-minute justification. Every excuse you give is energy you give away. And finally, create your own end-of-day ritual. One that doesn't involve a screen. It could be a slow shower, jotting down 3 unfiltered thoughts, or just lying in silence for 5 minutes. No stimulation, no distractions, just you, with yourself. Sometimes it's not about getting more sleep. It's about resting from what you carry. Because if your entire day becomes a battle against your own truth, if you spend every hour pretending to be someone you're not, then of course you're going to end up exhausted. And maybe this is the sign you've been waiting for. The sign to start building a solid life from within. Not from what others expect of you, but from what you truly need. Lesson 27. Face your fears and break your limits. Picture this. You're standing in front of a massive wall, so high and thick it seems to touch the sky. Even the air feels different when you look at it, as if that barrier were a sleeping giant guarding everything you want most. At your feet is everything familiar, your comfort zone, your habits, your excuses. On the other side of that wall are your biggest dreams, the ones that sometimes feel impossible. But deep down you know you deserve to reach. You feel small in front of that wall, and that's normal. It's natural to doubt, to feel afraid, even to want to turn back and take the easy road. But what if that wall is just an illusion created by your own doubts? What if those seemingly unbreakable walls are nothing more than shadows cast by your fears in disguise? Can you imagine what would happen if you broke through? If you left behind the invisible chains that limit you and dared to step toward what you've always wanted? That path, though uncertain, is the only one that will turn your inner chaos into lasting, solid success. Because your limits, my friend, only have the power you give them. This idea of defeating fear isn't cheap motivation. It's a Stoic principle that still speaks strongly today. Seneca said something worth repeating 1,000 times. The brave person is not the one who feels no fear, but the one who conquers it. Real courage isn't about ignoring what you feel. It's about mastering your mind so fear doesn't make your decisions. It's understanding that fear is an emotion, not an unmovable obstacle. Now, put yourself in this situation. You want to teach, to help others, to share what you know. But when you have to speak in public, you feel that lump in your throat, the cold sweat, and a fear that freezes you. You think, I could do it, but I'd better not. I don't want to mess it up. That inner voice is the giant wall blocking your way, and you know it. You know success is on the other side, that you can do it. but you're setting your own limit. And here's the problem. You believe you have to wait until the fear disappears. But as psychologist Susan Jeffers said, it's not about eliminating fear, because that almost never happens. It's about learning to move forward despite it. Fear is like that annoying travel companion who follows you everywhere. You don't have to fight him, you just have to keep walking firmly while he tags along. If you change the way you think about fear, you stop seeing it as an enemy and start seeing it as a signal you're doing something important. So, what can you do? Start by noticing those negative voices you repeat to yourself. I can't do it. I'm going to fail. Or, this isn't for me. When you hear them, challenge them. Replace them with thoughts that empower you, like I can try and learn along the way. Letting go of that mental baggage brings huge relief, like taking off a heavy backpack you never needed to carry. Also, be kind to yourself. You don't have to punish yourself for feeling afraid or making mistakes. Allow yourself to fail, to grow, and to keep going. Nobody is born knowing everything, and every small step, no matter how insignificant it seems, brings you closer to that organized, meaningful life you want to build. When you treat yourself with compassion instead of criticism, you create space to move forward without the inner noise that only adds chaos. The real secret is to move, even when fear makes you doubt. Don't wait to feel ready or for the insecurity to vanish. Take small, manageable steps. Practice that talk in front of a mirror, record a short video, or simply tell a friend what you want to achieve. Each small win is a brick that tears down that wall holding you back. And as you keep moving forward, even little by little, you'll be amazed at how what once seemed impossible becomes your new normal. My friend, the next time fear knocks on your door and tells you to wait, that it's not your time, remember that wall only you can break. Organizing your life and turning your inner chaos into lasting success starts with breaking the invisible chains you've built yourself. Will you let fear decide for you, or will you take the reins and build your own road? The choice is always yours. Lesson 28. Your mirror is talking to you. Every morning you look in the mirror while you wash your face, fix your hair, or brush your teeth. But you do it in a rush, without really looking. You check for dark circles, make sure your face looks okay for a video call, see if anything's out of place. But you don't ask the most important question: how am I really doing? That quick glance is like inspecting a car only from the outside. Are the tires full? Is the paint shiny? And then you move on. But you never pop the hood. You never check the engine. Until one day it breaks down in the middle of the road, and you say, I didn't see it coming. But you did see it. You just didn't want to face it. My friend, ignoring yourself is also a form of abandonment. There are signs you've been sending yourself for a while now. That knot in your stomach every Sunday night. That lack of drive when you wake up. That sudden anger that catches you off guard. But you cover it up. With work, with errands, with to-do lists. And while you're doing everything for everyone else, you still can't give yourself 5 minutes to really check in. It happened to me too. For months, every night while I washed my face, I felt this pressure in my chest, but I brushed it off. I told myself, I'm just tired. Tomorrow will be better. Until one night I looked in the mirror, and I didn't recognize myself. My eyes were dull. My face was tense. My skin looked dry, but the most jarring part wasn't physical. It was the feeling that I didn't know who that person was. I just stood there, still, and the thought was crystal clear. Who even is this? That's when I realized this wasn't random. I wasn't just feeling off. I had been neglecting myself consistently, day after day, quietly. Marcus Aurelius understood this centuries ago. He didn't talk about mirrors, but about something even deeper, inner reflection. In his meditations, he wrote, "The soul becomes visible to itself when it withdraws and observes its own movements." He wasn't talking about your reflection in the bathroom mirror. He meant introspection, the ability to stop, ask yourself how you feel, what you need, what you've been ignoring. Because the most honest mirror isn't the one in your home, it's the one inside you. And yes, We can imagine Seneca looking at his reflection in the water and saying, "The beard looks good today, but what a night of insomnia." Even if it's said with humor, at least he'd admit it. You, on the other hand, keep dodging that uncomfortable conversation with yourself. But for how much longer? So, my friend, the next time you look in the mirror and feel like something's off, don't run. Psychologist Julia Christina recommends something she calls a self-check-in, a habit that seems simple, but changes everything inside. It goes like this. Every day for 2 minutes, look at yourself in the mirror. No phone, no distractions, just you, and ask yourself how you're really doing. Honestly, no filters. Are you okay? Are you pretending? Do you feel frustrated, excited, exhausted, confused? Name it. Say it out loud. Then talk to yourself. It might feel awkward at first, but it works. Say something you'd say to a close friend if they were feeling the way you do. Something like, "You're doing the best you can," or, "I don't want to keep going like this." That voice, your voice, can be the spark that ignites real change. And if you discover something painful, if you notice sadness or anger or exhaustion, don't cover it up with distractions. Write it down, get it out. Because what you don't acknowledge ends up controlling you. The mirror doesn't lie. And if every time you look in it you feel like something's missing, like there's a disconnect, like there's a shadow in your reflection, maybe it's not your hair, your clothes, or your fatigue. Maybe it's that you stopped seeing yourself a long time ago. And if you can't see yourself, how can you prioritize yourself? Because learning to put yourself first doesn't start with big moves. It starts with something as simple as daring to really look. And that, my friend, is the first step back to yourself, to taking back control, to transforming your life from the inside out. Lesson 29. Forget the all-or-nothing mindset. How am I going to the gym today if I haven't gone all week? I'll just organize the closet during spring cleaning. If I can't do it perfectly, I'd rather not try. When I have more time, I'll get to it. I don't even know where to start, so I won't start at all. These excuses sound familiar, don't they? They're the mental traps we set for ourselves to avoid starting something, because we think that if it's not going to turn out flawlessly, we might as well not move a muscle. But you know what? That mentality doesn't just trap you. It slows you down and keeps you stuck. Think about it for a moment. How many times have you skipped doing something out of fear you wouldn't do it well? That all-or-nothing mindset paralyzes us and robs us of control over our own lives. Imagine you have a friend who wants to learn how to cook. The first time he tries to make a sauce, he oversalts it and exclaims, "This is a disaster, I'm no good at this." The second time, he burns the onions a bit and convinces himself that cooking just isn't for him. After a few failed attempts, he decides to give up and leave cooking to the experts. If you were there, you'd probably say something like, "Really, my friend? You're going to give up just because you added too much salt? What, do you expect to cook for royalty on your first day?" Forget the all-or-nothing approach. Here the game is about building stone by stone, step by step. It's not about preparing a perfect banquet from the first dish, but about learning how to chop onions without tears, to add flavor little by little, and, most importantly, not to burn the house down in the process. The real problem with thinking in black and white, in all or nothing, is that it freezes us. It forces us to wait for perfection, and while we wait, nothing changes. You don't take that first step and the mountain stays there, huge and immovable. But what if your friend took one small new step each day? Like chopping a different vegetable or trying a new spice, even if it made him nervous. That would slowly train his confidence. And that confidence, no matter how small, is what eventually turns kitchen chaos into dishes he never thought he could make. The same thing happens with your life and that inner disorder that sometimes feels impossible to organize. You don't need to jump from nothing to everything to turn your chaos into real, lasting success. All it takes is consistency and small steps that add up. That's why Marcus Aurelius left us this gem. The art of living is more like wrestling than dancing because it requires firmness and perseverance. Think about it. If Marcus Aurelius could see someone trying to organize their inner chaos and hear that all or nothing voice in their head, he'd surely tell them that life is a constant fight, not won by one spectacular blow, but by the perseverance of showing up every day. And if he had a GPS in his hand today, he'd probably get just as frustrated as we do when it recalculates the route over and over, because we keep trying impossible shortcuts or waiting for the perfect moment to start. But what his words give us is a clear message. Wisdom is in accepting the real path, with patience, and without demanding perfection from the first minute. It's not speed or perfection that matters, but the steadiness and will to keep moving forward. So how can you start organizing your life so that your inner chaos stops being an enemy and becomes your ally in reaching real success? The key is to forget all or nothing. You don't have to tidy the whole room in one go or wait until you have hours of free time. Just take a ridiculously small step. 1 drawer, perfect. 5 minutes at your desk, great. And if you can't even manage that today, spend 1 minute thinking about the simplest thing you could do, and do it. Just like that. That tiny gesture, no matter how insignificant it seems, has more power than you think. It's the antidote to the paralysis created by perfectionism and the eternal wait for the right moment. Every mini step you take, no matter how small, pulls you away from chaos and closer to the order you're aiming for. And the best part, without pressure or guilt. Also, don't underestimate the power of celebrating those small victories. Finish cleaning that drawer? Perfect. Celebrate it like a trophy. Made the phone call you were avoiding? Give yourself a pat on the back. That inner encouragement is essential for keeping momentum when things feel heavy, or when external chaos hits hard. Celebrating your progress reminds you that you are moving forward, even when the big changes aren't visible yet. Lesson 30. A golden cage is still a cage. My friend, sometimes it looks like you have everything. From the outside, it all lines up. But inside, something just doesn't fit. Picture this. You've got a good job. You earn well. You go to the gym, you go out on weekends, you're in a stable relationship, and everyone says you're doing great. But you wake up on a random Monday with a tight chest. You eat breakfast without appetite. You head to work, and even though no one says anything wrong, you feel like you don't belong. In meetings, you smile and do what's expected, but inside the lights are off. At night, you struggle to fall asleep, and you don't know why. I'm lucky, you tell yourself. I've got no reason to feel like this. And yet, you feel it. Because you've built a life approved by everyone, except you. It's like you're living in a cage, but not just any cage, a shiny one, with golden bars, polished, dazzling from the outside. Everyone looking in says, "You're so lucky, I wish I were in there." But you know the truth. You can't fly in there, because everything you do is based on what's expected of you. Every choice you make is about keeping up appearances, not about feeling free. And that, my friend, is also a way of being trapped. But do you know who didn't fall into that trap? Epictetus. He was a slave and still understood freedom better than anyone. He made it clear with a phrase that cuts through the centuries. No one is free who is enslaved to what others think is valuable. His life wasn't easy, but it was his, because he never handed over his soul to someone else's judgment. And if he, in actual chains, could live from the inside out, how can you not at least try? But don't worry, you're not alone. Writer Matt Haig fell into that same trap. From the outside, he had everything you're supposed to want, but inside he was falling apart, until one day he broke down and realized what he'd been ignoring for so long. Depression taught me I was living a life that wasn't mine. Sometimes your body has to scream what your soul has been whispering, but don't wait until it gets that far to finally listen. And why does this happen to us? Psychologist Nicole LePera says it's because we fall into the trap of functional success. You're doing fine, but you're not really you. and that wears you down. Because pretending to live a perfect life is exhausting. It takes up space. It erases you little by little, until one day, you don't even know what you like or what you need. You just know you can't do it anymore. So tell me, my friend, are you truly okay, or just permanently on hold, waiting for something to magically change? If it feels like you're living in a script you didn't write, ask yourself this every Sunday night. This week, did I live the way I wanted to, or the way I was supposed to? For example, did you go out to dinner with people who drain you just to be polite? Did you take on extra work just to be liked? Did you delay an important decision because now's not the right time? Did you hold your tongue in a conversation because it was easier not to make waves? If any of that sounds familiar, it's time to rewrite the script. Then, look for something you gave up out of fear, something you loved, something that moved you but you stopped doing just to fit in. Maybe it was dancing, writing, studying something that called to you. Do it. Even if it's just 10 minutes. Not to share, not to prove anything, just to remind yourself you're still in there. And finally, make a list of things you'd do if no one had an opinion. If the world went silent. If only you mattered. Pick one. Just one. Start there. Because prioritizing yourself doesn't always mean changing everything. Sometimes it's just about listening to yourself again. Because in the end, what's the point of having everything if you don't feel like yourself? The hardest cage to break out of is the one that shines, but it's also the most urgent. And the first step is giving yourself permission to be free. Even if no one else understands, even if it feels crazy. Because only you know what you need, and if today you decide to crack that door open, the fresh air that comes in will be yours. Lesson 31. No one's coming to catch you if you break. Has it ever happened to you that the whole day crashes down on you, but you just keep going like nothing's wrong? Like you've got an infinite battery. Like breaking down isn't an option. Like being strong is your only identity. Until one day, out of nowhere, you just can't anymore. And that's when you realize something. No one has a rescue plan ready for you. No one's going to stop their world just because yours is falling apart. And as painful as that is, that's what changes everything. We live as if being indispensable gives us value, as if being available all the time makes us good people. But let me tell you an uncomfortable truth. You are replaceable. Not just at work. In WhatsApp groups, in family dinners, in last-minute favors. And if you don't put yourself at the center of your own life, if you don't take that place that no one else can fill for you, then everything else will slowly replace you. You'll start fading. And the worst part is you won't even notice. Does this scene sound familiar? It's Thursday, 8 p.m., and you've already worked 10 hours. A message pops up in your work group asking for a quick favor. You say yes, even though your eyes are burning and your neck is in pieces. The weekend rolls around and you're a chauffeur for your mom, a therapist for your friend, a babysitter for your nephew, the perfect partner. Even though deep down, all you want is to lie on the floor and not get up. And when you finally break, because yes, even your soul can break, what happens? Nothing. The meeting still happens. The WhatsApp keeps buzzing, and you're left picking up the pieces you didn't even realize you'd dropped. Seneca warned us centuries ago, when you care for everyone but yourself, you're not being generous, you're being careless. He didn't say it to judge, he said it from experience. Because if the Stoics knew one thing, it's this. You can't act with virtue if you don't first build your inner strength. It's not selfishness, it's foundation. It's the bare minimum you need so you don't collapse. And if that's hard to accept, think about Demi Lovato. For years, she was the face of, I can handle it all. Success, tours, interviews, smiling. But it was all a front. In her documentary Dancing with the Devil, she says something that hits you in the gut. My life became a performance, but it wasn't a stage. It was a cage. And that cage eventually shut. She collapsed. Because just pushing through isn't enough. If you're not okay on the inside, sooner or later, everything falls apart. I'm sorry to say it, my friend, but you've abandoned yourself. And as psychologist Lisa Oliveira explains, that's a quiet form of self-destruction. She calls it self-abandonment, the habit of silencing what you feel, postponing what you need, ignoring your own exhaustion until you explode. You do it out of habit, guilt, loyalty, but also out of fear of disappointing others. Even though the only real disappointment is with yourself. And yes, I know this part sounds intense, but just picture Seneca getting a late meeting invite at 9 p.m., glancing at his soul cultivation calendar and saying in a dry voice, "No, my friend, I've got an appointment with my peace." If even he would set boundaries, why wouldn't you? Are you ready to start taking care of yourself without guilt? Then do this. Turn off your phone 1 hour before bed. Don't let anyone else access your energy when you don't even have enough for yourself. Call it mental hygiene. And what can you do during that hour? Give yourself a soft routine, a hot shower, some tea, a chapter of that book you keep putting off, or just stare out the window and do nothing, because disconnecting from the outside is the only way to reconnect with yourself. Also, do something every day that's just for you. A walk with no destination, a slow breakfast, 5 minutes of silence. It doesn't have to be useful, it just has to nourish you. Because you're not some mug that can always be refilled. You're more like a one-of-a-kind piece. And when that piece breaks, no one's coming with emotional superglue to put you back together. Only you can do that. And the sooner you understand it, the sooner you stop breaking and start truly taking care of yourself. Lesson 32. Protect your mind from noise and negativity. Picture this, it's Monday morning. You wake up ready to take on the world, with that spark of energy we all wish we could feel every day. But before you even get out of bed, you've already got your phone in your hand. A friend has sent a message complaining about life. The news notifications are full of alarming headlines that seem to get worse every day. Strangers' opinions fill your feed, and a flood of social media updates leaves you comparing yourself and feeling like you're not enough. Your mind, my friend, is already more crowded than the subway at rush hour. Without realizing it, you've started your day in a negative loop that steals your focus, your peace, and your motivation. I'll tell you what used to happen to me. I'd try to change. I'd promise myself that this time I'd start my day calm and focused. But the reality was different. The moment I opened my eyes, there was my phone. And with it, the noise, the doubts, and the anxiety slipping in like a dark shadow. One day, while searching for answers, I came across Dr. Alok Kanogia. I heard him say, when your brain wakes up with artificial dopamine, like the kind you get from your phone, it enters a state of exhaustion that drains your energy before you even start. That hit me hard. I realized that constant information overload wasn't just useless, it was weakening me. I couldn't focus, couldn't feel good, couldn't organize anything. So, my friend, it's time to get organized and protect the mind that powers everything you want to build. And if anyone understood this, it was Marcus Aurelius. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. He knew that mental strength isn't about having more information or being busier. It's about carefully choosing what you give your attention to, and more importantly, what you don't. The ability to focus, to filter out the noise, is what separates chaos from clarity, disorder from organization. I know, you're probably thinking, sure, in Marcus Aurelius' time this was easier. No phones, no social media. True, but let's not get stuck in history. Here's how you can put this into practice today to turn your chaos into success. First, create device-free zones in your home. Think about how much your phone has invaded every space. Start simple. No phone at the table during meals, and definitely no phone in the bedroom before sleep. These small tech-free territories become sanctuaries for your mind, spaces where noise and distraction can't reach you. Without screens, your brain starts to breathe and recharge for what really matters. Second, be intentional about the content you consume. You don't have to cut everything, but you must be selective. Negative news? Outside toxic comments on social media? Don't even read them. Don't give them your energy. Comparing yourself to others until you feel worse? Stop it now. What should you do instead? Fill that space with things that lift you up, inspire you, and add real value. Look for podcasts, channels, or books that help you organize your life, learn new skills, or maintain a positive mindset. It's like putting a filter on your mind so it doesn't fill up with junk that only feeds your inner chaos. Third, set specific times to check emails or social media and treat them like important appointments with yourself. Don't let your phone run your day, run it yourself. For example, allow yourself just 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the afternoon to check those things, nothing more. Outside of those windows, keep your phone on silent or switched off. This control keeps interruptions from pulling you out of focus and lets you organize your time and energy to build the success you're aiming for. Think of your mind as a garden. If you let it fill up with weeds, it will never bloom. But if you care for it, watering it with positive thoughts and conscious attention, you can cultivate the peace and clarity you need to build an organized, meaningful life. Now it's your turn. Tell me in the comments, what tricks or habits do you use to protect your time and your mind? What distraction-free zones are you going to create starting today so your life moves toward a clear, focused path to success? Let's learn from each other and support one another on this journey. And if you think you've already got everything under control, hold on, because what's coming next is like pressing the ninja mode button for your mind. Without it, any little distraction can knock you straight back into chaos. Get ready. This final point is the master trick to turn your chaos into the success you've been looking for. Taking the reins of your life, organizing your inner chaos, and building a path toward real success is a daily process that requires discipline and determination. It's not about waiting for the perfect moment. It's about using every moment to set your priorities straight, push past your limits, and move forward with clarity toward your goals. Every small effort you repeat is a brick that strengthens your future and brings you closer to the life you truly want. If you've made it this far, write in the comments, "I organize my life and move toward success."